Hi there, crafty friends. It's Sharon, and welcome to my studio. Today, I'm delighted to share the newest color of the Distress line with you, Lost Shadow. This is a beautiful light gray, and I've been playing around with it for a couple of weeks now, and turned it into some really fun color combinations that I can't wait to share with you today. This distress color comes in all the formulas that you know and love in the ink, the oxide, the re-inkers, the spray stain, the oxide spray, of course the embossing glaze, distress paint, and there's also this fun pin available, which you see on the top. And I have these pins in my studio. I have them up on a pin board and I look at them for inspiration. And you can order this entire set right now at Simon Says Stamp. The link is in the profile to do that. Or you can order any of the colors or any of the formulas individually. So let's take a look at some of the swatches. And for the swatches, I've just swatched the new Lost Shadow and the other grays in my palette. So this is Lost Shadow, we have Pumice Stone, Hickory Smoke, and of course Black Soot. And how I swatch my colors is I just cut a small piece of distressed watercolor cardstock. I ink blend onto the cardstock and then I do spray it with a little water just so I can see how the color reacts. And let's now take a look at some of the fun combinations I've made with this color. So this card is just a simple hello card. I've made this one only with distress inks and I've used the new alphanumeric bulletin dies. So this card has distress inks with Kitsch Flamingo, Lost Shadow, Fossilized Amber, Rusty Hinge, and Aged Mahogany. And I know I said the gray is a little more on the cool side, but it works really well with these warm colors. For the background of the card, I just decided to give it a little bit of texture. So I've used the new Mosaic Texture Fade and I just kept everything in the background white. So the letters and the fun color combination really stands out. For this card, I just wanted to keep it simple and really showcase the Lost Shadow color. So I took the Distress Oxide spray, I sprayed a panel of Distress watercolor cardstock with it and dried it with a heat tool. And then I took this Cobblestone Texture Fade embossing folder. So for this embossing folder, I used Distress Archival ink and Black Soot and I just rubbed it on the embossing folder, put my piece of cardstock in, and then ran it through my die cut machine. And then to make the letters, I used the new alphanumeric Emporium set. So I cut them out of black and also for the inside used another piece of that oxide cardstock. And once the letters were all put together, I put little bits of foam tape on the back to pop them up. And then I just covered each letter with glossy accents to make them really shiny. And just make sure if you're doing that, that you let them dry for, I let mine dry for a couple of hours. So for this next card, I've used distress paint and I've combined Lost Shadow for the clouds, Broken China and Prize Ribbon for the background, and some carved pumpkin for a little pop of orange. And I started just painting these clouds. I was going to make like a clouds and sunshine card. And then I had an idea to make it a Magritte inspired card. So I combined it with the new Taylor dies that came out in the last Sizzix release. You can see the little pop of orange on the tie. And all of the clouds on the card are just painted a little bit differently. So they all have like a little bit different variation. And then I just popped everything up and finished the card with a small talk sticker. So you know I'm always going to make a set of cards using the Brushstroke set. I think this is just a great way to play around with the colors, look at different swatches, and get some really good combinations. So for these cards, what I've done is just did different variations on color combinations with Lost Shadow. And then I've cut a shape out that kind of goes with the theme of each card. So we'll take a closer look. So for this Valentine's Day card, I did Kitsch Flamingo, Lost Shadow, Lumberjack Plaid, Pick Raspberry, and Fired Brick embossing glazes. And then I just put a cutout, a little heart from the Falling Hearts dies, and then a simple sentiment. And each one of these cards is going to be a shaker. So I just put a few different beads inside. And the next card that I have is a little bit more of a spring palette. So this one has a bunny cutout. This has Fossilized Amber, Saltwater Taffy, Wilted Violet, Cracked Pistachio, and then finally the Lost Shadow. And that one just has some clear and silver beads inside, a simple Happy Easter on the cutout. And then I do have one more shaker. So this one is a final combination. This one is Crackling Campfire, Tattered Rose, Lost Shadow, Peeled Paint, and Rustic Wilderness. So the same thing, I cut a small deer out of this one. I put some gold sequins and beads inside and just added a Christmas sentiment. So for this card, I kept it pretty simple. It's a really simple design. What I've done for this is kept it with a classic combination of gray and yellow. So I've used distressed spray stains to color the papers that I cut the flowers from. I used Lost Shadow, and then for the yellows, I used Squeezed Lemonade, Fossilized Amber, and just layered the flowers onto a panel, just making a pattern. And then finally, you can see all of the texture there. For this sentiment, I just stamped the sentiment in Distress Archival ink in Hickory Smoke. So this card uses the Papercut Cafe dies. They're the new Sizzix dies, the coffee and tea cups. And I wanted to do a small stack of them. So this is like a mini slimline size card. And I wanted to use kind of a soft color combination. This one uses Uncharted Mariner, Twisted Citron, Tea Dye, Lost Shadow, and Evergreen Bough. And what I did was also create a little dotted background using the Lost Shadow to place everything onto. So for the cups, I made some little papers using distressed oxides on distressed watercolor cardstock, and then just die cut them out. So I cut different layers out of darker and lighter colors, stacked them all up, and then just added a small sticker right in the middle. I had a lot of fun making this card, so I did a more mixed media style for this one. And I've used the distressed paint, so I've kind of marbled the paints. I put them onto my craft sheet, sprayed them, and just pressed my panel into the paint. And I have Lost Shadow, Worn Lipstick, Villainous Purple, Dusty Concord, and Salvage Patina. For the black layer, I just took a stencil and stenciled Lost Shadow onto some black cardstock. And then for the top layer, that is just a piece of watercolor cardstock, which I ripped on the bottom. And it's stamped with the outline floral set and colored in with the distressed re-inkers. So Lost Shadow, Wilted Violet, and some Victorian Velvet. So you can see the gray leaves there. And it kind of goes with the colors in the background. I've stitched some ephemera onto the card. I've added a sentiment, and then I just took some sterling foundry wax and splattered it all over the top. So just something a little different, but a good way to mix a lot of the colors and try them out. For the last card, I just created a very simple Valentine. This uses the new abstract element dies. As you can tell, they're one of my favorites. And a couple of papers made with distress oxide. So the combo is spun sugar, barn door, weathered wood, faded jeans, and a couple of pops of black soot. And I just added a few word stickers, and it makes a very simple Valentine. I hope you enjoyed these color combinations with the new distress color, Lost Shadow. I appreciate you watching today, and if you liked this video, I'd love if you gave it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe below to see future videos. Thanks for watching.